Hello, Vidargavia here, and welcome to this Melon and Pumpkin tutorial, guys, for Minecraft 1.13. It works in all sorts of versions, I think, as long as there's observers and things like that. It will also work in Minecraft 1.14. Yeah, Melon and Pumpkin Farm. I know we have a tiny Melon and Pumpkin Farm since before on the channel, but that is very small, and this one that I'm standing on right now, it's bigger. It's got 18 plants, so optimally then 9 melon plants and 9 pumpkin plants. Each plant has 3 spaces to grow on. Yeah, as soon as one grows, all of them gets harvested. It should be fairly efficient and nice, guys. So let's have a look at the farm here. It is not massive. You can expand it infinitely, actually. Pretty much infinitely. But this is the simplest version that still is fairly big, right? There's a little bit of a bigger version here. There's 22 plants, I think. And you can design it. You can do all sorts of nice things. You can also make a little bit of a smaller version here. This one has 4 plants. And again, each plant, as you can see here, has 3 places to grow things on. So what are some facts about melon and pumpkin farms, guys? Well, if you have every other plant being a melon and every other plant being a pumpkin, it'll grow faster. Now that doesn't matter in this farm at all. You can set it up however you want to here, because every plant has no plants adjacent to it, and that'll actually slow the farm down a little bit. But what we do have here is 3 spaces to grow for each plant, which is awesome for a melon and pumpkin farm. Alright, guys, so for this farm you will need a hopper minecart, 1 hopper, apart from the hopper minecart, around about a stack of powered rails, around 16 normal rails, a bunch of redstone, maybe 2 stacks or something like that, 3 redstone blocks, a lever, 2 chests, a double chest in other words, or more if you want to do something snazzy with the collection here. Around about 19 observers, 29 pistons, and a repeater. You will also need a bunch of dirt, a bunch of glass, some sea lanterns or other light source such as glowstone, and a bunch of birch or other building block. The only thing here that you really need is you need some sort of light source, and you need dirt. So let's have a look at the innards of this farm. So here we are stood inside of the farm. As you can see, every dirt block has a piston next to it. That includes the ones in the middle here as well. They have pistons here. And every plant has an observer observing it. So if something grows here, the plant will bend that way, and thus firing the observer, and thus firing these pistons. So as you can see, there are no visible water sources here. Now the water sources are, because this is a bigger farm, the water sources are hidden on the outside here. So they're under here. And there's 1, 2, and 3 on each side for this entire farm. So that's pretty nice. You don't have to have so many water sources when you make a bigger farm like this. Now the collection is made by a minecart hopper that just basically runs around here as soon as there's something in this farm has been fired. Now that is controlled here on the middle. Yeah, so that's controlled from these 2 observers here. We're just putting a line over to this block here so that powers up. And this in turn is fired whenever any of this redstone is lit up, thus firing these observers and firing the minecart. So to build this melon and pumpkin farm, guys, you will start with a platform that is 3 wide, and it can be any block, but it has to be like a top block, so you have to be able to put rails on top of it, and it's supposed to be 19 long. Okay, so 3 by 19. If you want to build this size, now you can easily expand it. We'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the tutorial. I will show you 1 module, and you can see yourselves how you can just expand it infinitely. Okay, so once you have that platform, you need to have your chest ready, and put that next to your platform like that. Okay, and then put the hopper in like that. And then you need a solid block of some description behind it. It can be 2 slabs on top of each other like that. And that's the beginning of that. Now on the other side here, you want to extend it on the opposite side of where that block is. You want to extend it 1 block and then have another block up, so like that. Okay, next up, in the middle of the farm, so in the middle of the platform, take out 3 slabs. Put redstone blocks in place. And now it's just a matter of placing the rail down. And you start with this one here, and then have a normal rail there. And then you just go on like this, all the way to the end. And then you wrap it around with normal rails, and then you continue like this. Now, if you built this correctly so far, this redstone block here these redstone blocks here will actually light up all of these rails all on their own, which is quite nice, to be honest. So on the end here you place a normal rail and then a powered rail again, and then you take your lever and power that rail constantly. This is just so that the farm or the cart will bounce back again. You can also take your hopper minecart and place it down so that you have that in place and don't forget. Okay, so let's start building the actual farm. You go up 2 blocks like that. And that's where you start the farm. And so this is like the end of one of the sides of the farm, like that. Okay, and that's just a marker for now. But what we need to do is we need to start placing dirt. That's the first thing to do. And the pattern here is this pattern here. So it looks like 3 blocks and then 1 in the middle, right? And we do that on both sides. But what you can do is you can do it on one side like that. Like this, 3 blocks and 1 on top, or 1 up front, like that. And then you can just make a line on the other side. Like that. It should look like this when you're done. And then you need to fill in the blocks that we didn't fill in with some block, any block. It's not strictly speaking needed, but it'll look better and it'll be easier to place your pistons later on. Okay, next up, we want to place the observers, guys. We want to place the observers on every block, or sorry, opposite every block that has dirt in the middle. But what we do first is we place the pistons, right? And because then that'll make the observer placement a lot easier. So on every block that has a birch block here, you want to place a piston opposite it, like that, all the way. So when you've done one side, it looks like that. Now you need to do exactly the same thing on the other side, and the pistons needs to go in exactly the same spot, so opposite the ones you already placed. Okay, so it looks like this. Now you need to place the observers, and you need to place them from the back side so that they observe the block in front of them, i.e. the dirt block that we're gonna have a melon or a pumpkin seed on later on, or plants. You just place them in between all of the pistons like this. Not like that, like this. Okay, so we're almost done with this piston placing and stuff like that. The final bit here is that you need to place a piston on each one of these blocks that you placed before, the birch blocks. And that is just to take care of anything growing here in the middle. Now you don't need to place anything on there. On the last one, you can just place a normal block there. Okay, next up, we want to just prepare some here. So we want to have a block on each one of the observers. And that means that the signal goes into the block. And that'll just make the redstone a little bit nicer later on. Because then we can take a signal from on top of it instead of behind it. So with all that in place, the next thing we can do here is we can remove one of the blocks in the middle here on the same side as we have the minecart. And replace it with an observer facing upwards and another observer underneath it. Then go down 1 block like that and make a line back to our minecart over here. And then it's time to grab some redstone. Just put a redstone wire all the way here to there. And what that means is that if this observer updates, the minecart will start moving. Well, it will start moving if you actually place a repeater here as well on 2 ticks. So you can test that part of the farm out, and while you do that, you can start with the next thing, which is placing the water blocks in. Okay, so the water. So place a block on the second block that is poking out. So underneath that observer, place a block there and surround it with blocks like that. And this is on the opposite side of where we placed the redstone wire just now. So place a block there and place some blocks around it. Take away the middle block, place the water in and plug the hole. And now we need to do that 2 blocks from here as well. from the other side, is what I'm trying to say. And that'll just make it so that every melon and pumpkin seed that we place is going to be watered on tilled soil that is watered. And finally you do the same thing in the middle here. So that's the water. That'll actually water all of the farm for us. So we can go ahead and take a hoe and till every block that has a observer next to it. Like this. Okay guys, we are certainly getting there with this farm. We can do the same on this side here. We can make it a little nicer and also keep all the loot contained inside of the farm by placing some blocks there. And then it's kind of time to start placing blocks above the farm here to do the same, to keep things contained. And you can start with just placing a row of blocks all along the hoppers and observers, like this. And on the other side as well. Now of course you can choose any old block you want to. I just happen to like the birch block a lot. Then on top of every piston that is in the middle, you need to place a row of blocks like this. And you don't technically need to place a row here, but you might as well because it looks nicer. Now we do need to have some sort of lighting in the farm as well. And I find it's convenient to just place a lighting block, glowstone or sea lantern, in the middle of every other row that is left here now. And then you can take a pumpkin seed and a melon seed and swap them around. Or if you want to have just a pumpkin farm in your pumpkin or melon farm, you can just place pumpkin seeds. Or the same, of course, goes for melon seeds if you want to have a melon-only farm. Now, the shiny thing about having them mixed here is that you can have it, for instance, in the floor of your villager trading hall or something like that, which could be quite nice, because then this can go and give you things to trade with the villagers as you trade, which is nice. Then you place the glass in like this, and that's really all the block placing done with the farm. Now we just need to do a tiny bit more redstone and we're done. And the redstone in question is actually surprisingly easy. On every birch block you need to place a piece of redstone. All the way around here, like this, on every piece of birch. Then on the blocks that you placed before here on the back of the observers, and on the observer block itself that you placed there for the rails, you need to place another piece of redstone on each one of them. And okay, that's actually that. Now you need to wait for the melons and pumpkin stems to grow up, and then you will start getting loots in this here chest over here. Now of course you can take this and you can actually make an item elevator or something like that, so that you have it conveniently located at floor level, because this is kind of the floor of the farm. The farm is underneath you, if you will. As you can understand, guys, it's quite easy to take away these here and just keep repeating the pattern. You know, making it longer and longer. And the reason I made it this particular length is because it's the simplest to deal with the rails. Because otherwise you have to have more powered rails, more redstone blocks and things like that to power all the rails. And also there is some point here, where having one set of rails will be inconvenient. So if you make it a very long farm, you will have to actually maybe have 3 minecarts that go, 1 for each row, or you might want to have minecarts going from that direction and from the other direction as well in that case. Now if you want to make a smaller farm but still bigger than the other farm that I have on the channel, you can make something like this. It's quite nice. You can have this sort of anywhere really. It's small, it's compact, and it still actually has 4 plants with 3 growing spaces each. And it's exactly the same principle, guys. It's exactly the same principle. You build a little box. It's 5 blocks wide, and then you have pistons and observers next to each other. You place the seeds down, and you have the water. In this case, I placed that in the middle here, and you can have a lamp right here so that everything is lit up and nice. And then the only quirky thing is that you have the pistons then that way and that way. So I suppose you could have the other piston here instead, but who would want that, eh? So it's nicer if you have it there, and then you just pull the redstone wire to those pistons. And then of course I've removed the cap or the roof here, but you also put them up to here and here and here. like that. This is quite a nice little starter farm, I think. It's just 4 observers, 8 pistons, and a glowstone or something like that. Underneath here you can do a hopper setup, because this is a lot smaller. You don't have to have rails, you can use hoppers instead, and you can get all the loot here as well. Now this farm is a little bit decorated. I figured it could be nice with some simple, just birch arches going around it. And you can see now that this can actually be a corridor in your base, and you can have your farm underneath your feet as you're walking past. So there you have it, guys. Melon and Pumpkin Farm tutorial for Minecraft 1.13 and beyond, guys, and beyond. As long as they don't fix this observer behavior, that it detects melon and pumpkin growth, I'm a happy bunny, to be honest. Because that is an awesome feature. I really like these farms. They're small and compact, and they look nice. So yeah, if you like this video, leave a like, leave me a comment, tell me how you are using this farm and how it's going for you. Also, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will answer. I've answered every single comment on, for instance, on my chicken tutorial, even though there are plenty of them by now. So there you have it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!